good time to be tested against, top teams, which we just saw with LAFC and, going into this NYC FC game. It'll be another very challenging task, but whether we, end up, see them in that first round or not, there's too many scenarios where you just don't know for that to come into play for me.
Tail end of this week, you guys will have an international break again, one game after that to close out the regular season. I'm just wondering, I know that's not new, but I'm wondering if you have concerns about, for this team especially, maybe as you guys are trying to find some really solid footing going into the postseason, the choppiness of that, does that concern you in a broad sense?
Not really. I think what it allows us to do is work on some things over a course of a 2-week period, which I think leading up to, the Columbus game where we had, that time period, I think it helped us to just work in different ways with the guys we have and help us get some answers. So I imagine we'll approach it in a similar way so we can, get teenage more involved, see where Cheeto's at and, Nico, a lot of these new faces that have, at least spent enough time with us. That's a period where you can work on a lot of different things. So I would hope that's beneficial to us going into that Philly game.
Is there an update on Cheeto and Sergio specifically?
Cheeto's still undetermined. He was getting some imaging this morning, so hopefully it's good feedback. That was the case with the last one, and he was able to go. But we'll know more probably in the next 15 minutes once we finish up here. And then Sergio's in concussion protocol, so he won't be available for the NYC game. And then it's making sure that each day he passed the test to be able to join us again.
Is that with Cheeto's injury? I mean, you guys have dealt with so much on the back line already this year. How jarring is that at this point of the season to, you brought him in specifically because of the injuries and then how that happened?
It's part of it. It's unfortunate, that it's had, certain guys with setbacks and, like I've said for a long time now, not allowing us to have consistency, but it's also opportunities for guys to step in. Alvis came in last game and did an excellent job. He's one of our best players and performers. So, that's kind of, what we've endured for a majority of the season. And guys have done a good job of just carrying on and focusing on trying to help the team. So I guess we'll know, the extent of how difficult this situation will be once we get the MRI report back. But like I said, hopefully it's minimal and it doesn't require Cheeto to miss too much time. And if for some reason it does, we've seen what that looks like. So just hope that's not the case.
Pat, these quick turnarounds aren't new to you guys by any sense, but given the way how Saturday went, do you have to make a choice to look forward to NYCFC or look back on how you use your time in this quick turnaround?
No, we had enough time to look at the LAFC game. We just reviewed that a little bit ago, so that was some just good conversations around some of the areas that we struggled with, where I think we were a little naive in how we conceded chances. So what I said was we do a lot of the difficult things pretty well, and some of the very basic things we make too challenging and too difficult on ourselves. And those are the things I think if we get right, we're going to be consistent in a lot more areas of the game and a lot tougher to play against. And so that was a lot of the conversation from this last game. But we had a chance to look at it and focus on New York City now.
Could you maybe provide an example of what some of those simple things you're working on without, I'm not trying to be reductive, but what are some of those things?
Moments of direct play, moments of, when we have good chance creation, how we organize from those moments to not allow teams out in transition. I think pretty basic plays that all of a sudden we're having to defend our box and concede a corner because we're not switched on.
I was going to say, just about New York City's coming off of a strong performance.
Mhm.
What do you expect of them this week?
Tough matchup. Anytime you're winning a rivalry game or in the fashion that they did, I imagine much like LAFC, they're coming in, well, not coming in, we're going to them with good momentum. LAFC was, you could see on the back end of winning a title, they were strong and defended in a really organized way, defended the box better than we did, and also had the quality with the ball to cause us some problems and hit us in transition. So they had a really strong game, and I think it was something that we struggled with early on and then made good adjustments and played a really, really good last 65 minutes, but it's got to be 90 plus minutes to win games. So going into New York City, a very strong win, and they've been, I think the last time we played them in the Leagues Cup, I was talking about the consistency of their group and performances, and it's kind of been trending that way for a long time. So I think they're in a good way right now, and that I think performance and result kind of shows just where they're at.
I remember when Nico was acquired on the final day of the window, and thinking it felt like there was a lot of time for him to prove himself and make an impression, and I think that probably is true. But you get into it, you realize the games aren't so plentiful at this point in the year, and maybe it is kind of hard to make an impact. But I wonder, and I guess that was prevalent in my thinking because there was that possibility that he could stay on for 25.
Yep.
I wonder, relative not just to 25, but what's your overall evaluation of Nico? And I think he maybe got some criticism after Saturday, and I wonder what you think of how he's done.
I got a lot of time for Nico.
Yeah.
He's a good team player. Of course, there's always an adaptation period, and for each player it looks a little different. I think despite the maybe goal production or assists, he's doing the things that we're asking in a lot of ways, and maybe the conversation feels different if the goal against Nashville counts. So I think he's been good for us, and whatever criticism is coming his way, he's got the support internally. So I wouldn't get too caught up in what people are saying. So a nice addition to our team, and it's my job, it's our job to get him playing his best. And in a lot of ways, he's strong in the ways you wanted to improve his production as a attacker, and I think he would probably say the same thing.
And when you guys come to the table to talk about 25, does your side, does he take credit for the goal in Nashville, and do you guys give him credit for it?
What do you mean?
Like, do you count it? Do you, in terms of
No.
evaluating him, do you count it?
Unfortunately, it didn't count, but I just I put a moment like that into the overall play. It's not just what counts, on the score sheet, but is he in positions to make plays? Is he able to finish plays off? Not just in games, but in trainings. So it goes, beyond just what's happening on the field, but certainly the most important factor is the game day performance. So while it doesn't count, we just look at the bigger picture and understanding how the player's helping us and how we can continue to improve his play.
I'm going to Laura, and then we'll wrap up on the deal with Goldberg.
I'm wondering because we've talked about the slow starts, how much could you attribute that to just the mental state of the team, just some of the things they've had to go through, not that they're making excuses with the injuries and things like that. But do you think maybe this year has been more mentally challenging for this team, and has that been something maybe they've struggled to?
It's been more mentally challenging, certainly, but I wouldn't attribute the, struggles early on in games to that. So, for different reasons, there's been slow starts, and some of that has to do with being able to finish off plays. Some of it has to do with, the type of game. If it's direct, if it's teams that are building, and how we're pressuring or putting pressure to them, and is the pressure broken, and that's how we're conceding chances. So I haven't seen, a pattern that leads us to believe this is what we need to change and this is how we're going to do it. It's, something we're aware of, but early game struggles come in a lot of different ways, and so while we're aware of it, I can't pinpoint one thing that's caused guys to struggle, but it's certainly not because of, the mental challenges that our guys have faced over the course of the year.
We'll go to the Zoom now, and Glenn Crooks. Glenn, you can go ahead.
Good, how are you?
Awesome. I think I have this right. Most points in the league away from home and most one-goal victories. I'm wondering if you feel like those two are connected, and are you a team, or do you have a philosophy where when you go on the road you don't consider changing things or playing for the draw, that sort of thing?
No, I mean, we try to have a similar approach to each game of how we want to attack and how we want to defend. Of course, there's variation to that each game, but I think you've seen from our group, we don't sit back too often when we go on the road. It's brought us success. It's certainly brought us challenges when you play different types of opponents on their home field, but I think we also adapt in game to how things are playing out, to understand how to get back in a game, how to hold a lead. It's hard to go on the road and blow teams out, and so what our guys have done a good job with is knowing how to create chances, know how to finish plays off. But then if we're playing from or playing with a lead, they do a pretty good job of knowing how to defend the ball and manage those situations to put us in a position that you're talking about where we've got a lot of road wins. So we haven't done it in one way, but I do think at the end of games, if you look at the Minnesota game, for example, we talked about that and the difference of LAFC and Minnesota, how we defended the box and how we were able to block shots and how we were able to get pressure to the ball and deal with teams that were putting us under pressure in different ways. I think the guys do a good job of protecting a lead, and you can do that in different ways. You can do that by stepping up your pressure. You can do that by dropping off. And trying to hit teams in transition to get another goal. But I think our guys adjust well to different ways of knowing how to protect a lead.
Pat, thank you very much.
About Yuya Kubo, over his first 4 years, he got 4 goals. Didn't have a goal in 5 playoff games that he's participated in, and now he's got 10 this season. So it might be a bit of a different role considering your situation, but can you describe the goal turnaround for Kubo?
I look at two big factors. One is playing more consistently higher up the field in the first couple of years that we've been working together. We primarily utilized him in the middle, centrally next to another holding midfielder, and I think that probably took away some of his opportunities higher up the field. I still think if you look at 22 and 23, he was in a lot of good spots and just wasn't able to finish plays off. But a lot of those chances are coming 15 yards and out. And now as more of a forward, if you will, he's been able to find opportunities closer to goal. And, the percentages are going to go up with being able to make plays and score goals. So that's been more consistent. And then I think playing time, he's probably accumulated more starts and minutes, if I'm not mistaken, than the last 2 years. So that factors into it. And then I just think the other aspect of it is his confidence. First couple years, not just confidence, but, the desire to finish plays off. He would get into good spots, but if it, didn't come off, it was, all right, we'll move on. But I think there was a stronger focus and more determination for him to impact the game more with goals and assists, and he's done that this year in a really strong way.
Pat, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.